Hi, friends. Today I want to talk to you about Forewarned by Tracey S. Phillips. Paranormal books are my favorite. So when I read the synopsis for Forewarned, I knew I had to read it. It took place at a lake house. It talked about premonitions, dark secrets, some kind of tragic accident that shaped everyone's life going forward. It definitely sounded like my kind of book. Forewarned is a YA paranormal suspense book, and it was very reminiscent of a lot of the books that I would read as a teenager. And it was kind of the genre that drew me into reading in the first place. There were a lot of different characters that all kind of intertwined. They all had their own mysterious secrets going on, and the buildup of each of these characters and each of these stories and how they all intersected made for this deliciously slow burning suspense novel. The paranormal elements in this story were pretty subtle throughout because I think it was more of a coming of age story. It was about Daphne, our main character, stepping into her special gifts. She was completely unaware that she even had these gifts. And so, really, we were along for the ride as she figured out what was happening to her, if it was real, if she could trust these feelings and these visions that she seemed to be having. If this was really happening to her, what did it mean for the rest of her life and the people around her? This story was told from many different perspectives, and we got to see inside the lives of a lot of different characters. We saw Daphne and her family and their dynamics as they vacationed at their lake house. There was a struggle with divorce and the broken trust that they all seemed to be dealing with. And then we got to look into the neighboring lake house, which was a much nicer house from a much wealthier family. And they were not immune to their own unique set of problems. This family had a lot of high expectations and a lot of neglect, and with that came a lot of rebellious decisions. When each of these characters who were experiencing all of this confusion and pain and neglect, when they came together and intersected in the story, chaos inevitably always followed. Sometimes the chaos led to poor decisions and dangerous situations, and sometimes the chaos led to almost a camaraderie of healing and support and just being in the presence of somebody whose life was just as messed up as yours. Everyone in this story made very bad decisions. um, there was a lot of hurt and pain and neglect. Everyone had experienced a situation where somebody that was supposed to love them and protect them and nurture them had let them down in some way. Because of all of these broken expectations and hurt feelings, that left room for a lot of resentment and a lot of desire for revenge. And so each person kind of acted in their own selfish interests. I'm definitely not going to say best interests because, like I said, bad decisions. But they all acted out in a way that would either make them feel good in the moment or that would punish somebody that they thought had wronged them. And so um, the parents made some very questionable parenting choices. The children made some very dangerous and careless life choices. And it got pretty much every single one of them into some form of trouble at one point. I can tell you that the theme this book was definitely not built on was honest communication. If everybody had just talked about their feelings and opened up and told somebody what they needed and how they felt, well, then it wouldn't have been a very interesting book. So I would say the overall themes were deceit and hurt and rejection. There was actually a lot of judgment going on. A lot of these characters had someone have some kind of preconceived notion about who they were or what kind of life they led or should lead. And it was up to the characters to kind of have this inner battle of, am I who everybody says I am? If I'm not, how do I prove them wrong? People had to decide if rumors were going to define them or if they were strong enough and brave enough to take their life choices into their own hands and decide which direction they wanted their life to take. And then on top of all of that, you have this paranormal layer where our character Daphne seems to be getting these kind of intuitions or visions about dangerous things that are happening or could happen. And I mean, imagine what you would do if you had this premonition that something was going to go down. How do you get people to believe you? How do you even believe that what you're experiencing is real? Like, that alone is such a huge battle. And poor Daphne had to face this struggle in the midst of just all of this familial chaos that was unfolding all around her. Oh, my final thoughts. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it, and I think you would too. It had an element of darkness to it because, like I said, everybody was struggling, everybody had hurt and pain, and that led them to make some very dark and disappointing decisions that negatively affected their lives, but also drew them together in a way. Even though the paranormal content was a little bit on the lighter side, it definitely had its place and it surfaced when it made sense for the way the story needed to unfold. There was a lot of tragedy, and I think this book is going to stay with me for a long time. I just hurt so much for many of these characters, and I just wanted to reach through the pages and hug every one of them and tell them, you are enough, you are worth it, and you matter. If you think you would enjoy a story that has some dark undertones, some paranormal content, and a lot of really intense relationships, then Forewarned is probably for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can read my full review. It's linked in the description below. And as always, please like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and please share your comments. No spoilers, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a delightful day.